Right, so again, so we are here on the estate administration, and these are actually under wealth distribution. And then so when we talk about estate or wealth distribution, so we have to make sure that we are placing the estate in the hands of one or more individual who is authorized to take charge of the assets, and this applies to both non-Muslim as well as Muslim. And we have to distribute the assets according to the relevant applicable laws. So for non-Muslim, they have Distribution Act 1958, and for Muslim, kita guna Islamic law of inheritance lah, right? Faraid law. Okay, so again, you might wonder bila kita kata pasal estate and trust ni kan, where do we actually place this category of persons? So here, masa kita buat taxation before this, so before our trust topics ni, so if you can remember, kita buat employment income, kita buat non-business income, itu semua kita buat masa orang itu masih hidup, when the person is still alive. When the person pass away, dia dah deceased, dia akan masuk dalam kategori dekat sini. So masa dia hidup, dia duduk dalam kategori yang kita tengah kira hari itulah, kita buat employment income, kita kira macam biasa kan. So for a deceased individual, so we will assess the income up to the date of decease shall be accessible under the deceased individual. So whatever income will be assessed under that individual's name. Bukan ada nama orang lain, under that individual name. Tapi once dia meninggal, once the person pass away, nampak dekat sini kita ada date of deceased death. So the estate dia, harta dia, so will be estate under administration. Dah bukan under nama dia dah bawah beneficiaries. So estate under administration, so here we have distribution to the beneficiaries, and we call it capital distributions, and sometimes ada annuity payable. So we are talking about trust body atau trust company, macam tadi lah, dia gotong lotter tu orang kaya, so wealthy people, they have a lot of beneficiaries yang dia nak distribute. So some different beneficiaries or annuity payable will be deducted from aggregate income. So the recipient will be taxed under 4E. Yang dapat bukan yang ni dah mati, dia dah tak ada. So yang dapat ni nanti will also be taxed. So the residual value of the estate, ada lagi lebih lagi. Di sini dah bagi capital distribution, ada lebih lagi. The residual value of the estate akan pergi ke it's either beneficiaries or the trust bodies. And so asset can be distributed either directly to the beneficiary or to a trust body if trust is created. So trust in this case is not unit trust, bukan unit trust macam amanah saham, so tu bukan. So trust is a trust body lah, foundation. Macam kita kalau kita tengok yayasan, so kalau in Malay biasa kita nampak lah, ada macam-macam yayasan, that is trust body. So here this topic, we are talking about the trust body, not the unit trust or trust in terms of securities. Alright, so the first one, we'll look at estate. So kalau tengok tadi ada tiga lah, kita ada estate, trust as well as settlement. So the first one here, we have estate. So a bit on Islamic estate planning, but yang ni saya tak cover lah, because you learn this in your estate planning class. We have estate administration, and then you also learn about the importance of estate planning and the instruments of estate planning. So in Islam, we have hibah, wasiat, wakaf, faraid. So I will skip this part because this is actually covered in your estate planning. But for estate planning, this is what we have. So these are what we call as estate planning instruments or estate planning tools. Alright, so for estate under administration, kalau tengok tadi the chart tadi tu kan, satu deceased punya, bila dia dah pass away, dah distribute, so dia duduk dekat satu kategori estate under administration. So if you look at the point number 1 here, the income up to the date of death is accessible on the deceased person, whilst income after that date is assessed on the estate. Right. For example, the deceased person ni ada rental income. Alright, selagi dia hidup, rental income will be assessed under section 4D di bawah nama dia. When the person pass away, rental dia masih berjalan, he or she still get that rental income. So that rental income will be taxed as well. Tapi bukan atas nama dia lah sebab dia dah mati kan. Will be assessed, dan tengoklah who are actually the beneficiaries of that income. So just to share with you current situation about estate tax in Malaysia. So in Malaysia kita belum ada lagi inheritance tax. So in some developed countries which mean you dapat benda you have to pay tax. Kita tak ada inheritance tax, Malaysia tak ada lagi. So some countries such as Japan, South Korea, France, they have a very high inheritance tax. So you inherit something, so you have to pay tax. So for taxation purposes, again, so here still we are looking at estate under administration, but our focus, our interest is actually for the taxation purpose. Kita tak kira lah dia nak bagi dekat siapa apa semua, we care only about tax. So in this case, for the estate or the deceased estate, so a living individual is a chargeable person, including an agent may be appointed to act on behalf of an individual. So the estate is to be administered. So harta kita, kalau tadi kita buat taxation kan, so saya kata tadi kita ada income, employment income, non-business income. Tapi bila dah itu masih hidup, bila dah mati, all those things will be called estate. Masuk dalam estate. So estate to be administered by either trustees, administrators, or legal representative of the deceased individual. So the deceased estate exists from the day after the date of death until the date of completion of the administration of the estate. So estate ni tempoh dia bukan forever dia ada certain date juga. Nanti kita tengok certain date yang we call it as estate under administration. So all income accruing to the deceased individual up to and including the date of death is taxable under the name of the deceased individual. Let's say we're talking about year assessment 2023. Okay, January until December 2023. So this person passed away in October. So from January until October, masih lagi nama dia lah sebab dia hidup sampai October kan. Starting from the date of death, so nama dia nanti akan di take over by kita kata administrator sampai tarikh dia mati je, including the date of death is taxable under the name of the deceased individual. All income accruing thereafter constitutes the income of the deceased estate taxable under the name of the executors. This is a matter of the terminology. So just now kita nampak income, kita kata of the individual. Now it will become income of the deceased estate. Deceased estate under the name of the executor. Who is the executor? Or who is entitled to become the executor depends on whether the individual died leaving a will or without will. I think you all pun ada belajar estate kan, so you know bila kita kata mati died testate ataupun intestate. So testate yang ada will, intestate yang tak ada will. So tak ada will dia akan ikut Distribution Act. And the term testator is used to refer to the individual who has made a will. And the testator appoints one or more trustees to carry out the stipulation of the will, and the trustees may be anybody whom in the opinion of the testator can be relied upon to execute the will and look after the estate to the best advantage and interest of the beneficiaries. So kalau you all ingat cerita Piramli kan, bila masa anak dia tidur tu dia teringat dia mimpi kan, Sulaiman Akhlakan tu, itu ialah trustees lah. So dia tolong jaga, and dia bila sampai orang ni, okay, dia explain. So these are the estate yang dia ada. So the trustee also can be one of the beneficiaries. Okay, go back to Lim Gotong's daughter's case just now. So the trustee is actually the lawyer, and the lawyer is also the beneficiaries. Dia technically boleh macam tu but the daughter semua dispute lah masa tu anak-anak suka because the lawyer is also a lady, lawyer dia perempuan. And it may also be a trustee company. So orang pun boleh, company pun boleh. So the trustee will apply to the court for grant of probate, which enables them to administer the estate. Those without a will, so the beneficiaries as determined under the Distribution Act can apply to be the administrator and apply for the letters of administration. So it depends whether a case involving a trustee or administrator, kalau tak ada will lah the duties of an executor will apply with regard to tax matters during the period of executory administration of the deceased estate. So I understand in your estate planning, your concern is that okay, kalau ikut Distribution Act, who will get how many percent kan? Kalau ikut will, ada will dia apa? Kalau faraid pula berapa persen pergi pada siapa berapa peratus, 1/8, 1/4 semua tu. But in this course, we are interested in the taxation of that estate. Kita tak peduli lah dia bagi dekat siapa, yang kita tahu ada je estate under administration, then that person has to pay taxes. Duty of executor related to tax administration. Okay, apa dia kena buat? Number one sekali, executor is required to inform the IRB of the demise of the deceased individual in a prescribed form. Kena isi form lah, kata orang sekian-sekian ni dah pass away. And IRB pula will issue assessment of additional assessment kalau ada relating to the deceased individual within 3 years after the year in which the date of death was communicated to them. Right? You remember just now I said ada certain period estate tu akan duduk dalam kategori estate. The tempohnya is actually 3 years. 3 tahun tu masih lagi IRB boleh uruskan any assessment dalam masa 3 tahun. Alright, so here we have one example. Here we have Mr. D. So Mr. D died testate. Testate maksudnya dia die ada will on 13 March of 2015, and his brother Mr. E is the trustee as per his will. On July 2015, he died in March. On July, Mr. E informed the IRB of the demise of Mr. D by submitting the prescribed form. 3 years after the end of the year 2015 will be 3 years from 31st December 2015 until 31st December 2018. Okay, ini tempoh dia, estate under administration. Any assessment or any additional assessment from the IRB in respect to Mr. D's income or any disposal of RPGT for any period up to his death must be issued by 31st December 2018. So whatever income dia dapat daripada masa dia dapat sampailah tempoh dia mati tu, semua benda kena submit pergi IRB dalam masa 3 tahun lah. Dia tak bagi sekejap lah, dia bagi 3 tahun until December 2018. Sekarang ni because kalau kita tengok the date dia meninggal 2015, Mr. E inform IRB also in 2015. Let's see Mr. E inform the next year je baru dia inform. On 5th January kata orang ni mati. And the IRB would have had until 31st December 2019. Sebab ayat dia tadi 3 tahun selepas IRB tahu, not 3 tahun selepas orang tu pass away. So lagi cepat dia bagi tahu, lagi cepatlah tempoh tu sekarang lambat dia bagi tahu. So the tempoh will be until 31st December 2019 to issue any outstanding tax assessment or additional assessment prior to his demise, prior sebelum dia pass away. So whatever income lah, kadang it takes time kan, but sometimes people don't know apa income yang orang ni ada but they have to make sure that the tax has been paid. And that will be a responsibility of executor to furnish the tax return. Okay, going back to Mr. E just now. So for example, Mr. D here who passed away in March just now, income from his, he also had interest from a loan to a friend and rental income. Can you all still see my screen? I get pop-up messages telling me that the connection is full.
Still nampak.
Alright, okay. Alright, so going back to Mr. D just now, so he had this income, okay, and then his income from all 3 sources for the period 1st January 2015 until 13 March 2015 will be taxable under his own name. Remember, until the date of his death, until 13 March. So the business income, interest income, and rental income which accrued to Mr. D for the period from 14 March 2015 to 31st December 2015 will form the income of the deceased estate for the year of assessment 2015. Alright, again, this is an individual. He or she will be assessed based on calendar year, which is January until December. He passed away in March, so all the income after the date of death will be the income of the deceased estate. So such income will is subject to tax under the name of Mr. E. So tadi D tu sampai March je, E April until December. So as the executor, Mr. E will be responsible for furnishing the tax return for year assessment 2015 for Mr. D as well as the tax return for year assessment 2015 for the deceased estate. So there will be two tax return, one up to March 2015, another one April until December 2015. What about the next year? The next year, 2016 sampai 2018 tadi atas nama Mr. E. Dah bukan nama Mr. D dah. So boleh nampak kan walaupun si guna ED je malas lah nak letak nama kat sini. E dengan D. So yang mati D, executor dia ialah E. So tahun yang sama he pass away. So income dia masih lagi nama dia. Walaupun bila dia pass away, orang lain yang jadi executor to furnish the tax return. The next year, whatever income will be subject to income tax juga, but on the name of income of the deceased estate, but in the name of the executor. So Mr. E ni yang kena buat semua will be responsible for filing the tax return for the deceased estate until the administration of the estate is completed. So when is the administration of the estate completed? After 3 years. Lepas tu dah tak ada, boleh cuci tangan. So income tax treatment of a deceased estate and beneficiaries. So kita tengok tadi the basis period for a deceased estate as same rule as that applicable to individual, which is calendar year, January until December. And receipts and income, again, we follow whatever we learned before, employment income, non-business income, all the section 4D, E, F lah, daripada section A, B, C, D, E, F lah, including business income. So whatever receipts and income that is subject to tax, kita akan kira the tax seperti biasa. Cuma, for example, gratuities kan. Remember gratuities, kalau dia sakit, kalau dia retire at the mandatory age, the income or the gratuities is exempted. So, if mati, death dapat gratuity, so gratuity also exempted from tax. Yang lain tu kita kira macam biasa. Life insurance payment and any sum insured is payable for death is not as income or deceased asset. If let's say this person, Mr. D, pass away, dia dapat life insurance payment. So the beneficiary is the wife, and that is not taxable. Dia dapat je, the wife dapat lah, not dia lah. So annuities from a deceased estate, kalau ada annuity specifically provided for in a will deemed to be income derived from Malaysia and subject to tax in the hands of the recipients. You must remember kita kata the taxable person is already passed away, that already deceased, so whoever dapat that annuity subject to tax in the hands of the recipient. So distributions can also be made by an executor to the beneficiaries, and the distributions are not regarded as income in nature and therefore do not attract income tax in the hands of the beneficiaries. Let's say based on the will, okay, daripada harta dia 20,000 pergi dekat anak dia, that 20,000 yang anak tu dapat will not be regarded as income. Itu ialah distribution, capital distribution. So do not attract income tax. Remember tadi saya kata Malaysia kita tak ada inheritance tax. Inilah dia. So the distribution tu tak kena tax. Dapat je macam tu. Unless income lah, rental income, business income, itu nanti later akan kena, akan kira macam yang tadi. So how do we compute total income? So by now you actually should be familiar with our total income computation for an individual. Ni jangan yang orang yang hidup punya calculation pun you all tak apa-apa nak cekap lagi kan. Sekarang kita nak cerita income orang mati pula kan. So because the calculation is quite different. So kita ada apa ni, different types of computation. So anyway, to compute the total income, alright, we still we have section 64 of the Income Tax Act. It deals with the income tax treatment of estates under administration. So the total income of a deceased estate is computed as the same way as for an individual total income. So if we have rental income, tolak repair, maintenance, whatever, all the allowable expenses, dapat adjusted income, sama. Calculation dia sama walaupun itu ialah deceased estate. Alright. This for total income, tolak donation macam biasa. Next would be chargeable income. Okay, what about chargeable income? Deceased individual dapat personal relief tak? Okay, look at the first point. In arriving at the chargeable income of a deceased estate, provided the deceased individual died domicile. Okay, died domicile maksudnya apa? Have you came across the term domicile? Pernah dengar tak?
Kat mana doktor?
Domicile, tak pernah dengar.
Tak.
Tak pernah dengar.
Kalau kita kata yang tadi tested dengan intestate tu pernah dengar Ada will dengan tak ada will tu.
Yang
So
tu
kalau
pernah
kita
dengar.
kata kalau kita kata individual tu died domicile, maksudnya died in Malaysia, died sebagai resident. Domicile kita kata dia died domicile in Malaysia. So dia die sebagai resident. Bila dia die domicile, maksudnya die sebagai resident, the deceased estate will be entitled to a deduction for personal relief based on the amounts enforced in the year assessment of death. Nampak tak? The person pass away, income dia kita tengah kira chargeable income, personal relief yang mana dia dapat kalau dia hidup, dia akan dapat juga. Sebab dia died domicile. Dia mati sebagai resident di Malaysia. Tapi deduction is available if the executor is an individual and resident in Malaysia. If let's say dia orang ni rakyat Malaysia, resident in Malaysia, tapi executor dia bukan individual resident di Malaysia. So dia tak boleh dapat yang ni sebab executor dia tu nanti bila lepas the date of death tu, dia punya estate under administration will be charged, will be taxed under nama executor dia kan. Tapi executor dia bukan resident, so dia tak boleh dapat. Kalau executor dia resident, dia boleh dapat. Deceased estate is not eligible for any tax relief. The tax rate applicable, application based on scale rate. Okay, so kita tengok balik what is estate. So I like to go back to this figure. So boleh tengok kat sini. So now our focus is actually here, estate under administration. So again, selagi dia hidup sampai sini, right? So the person will be assessed under his or her own name. Nama sendirilah. Tapi bila dia pass away, date of deceased katakan dekat sini, harta dia akan masuk ke sini sebagai estate under administration. Berapa lama the harta will be under administration? I'll be allowed for up to 3 years. 3 tahun. After 3 tahun, apa jadi lagi? Next kita akan tengok dekat sini. So the first one kita tengok dekat sini tadi. So I hope you all can relate lah dekat mana position benda yang kita or the element that we are talking about. So the estate is actually here. And again, if the person pass away macam tadi in March, so sampai March tarikh dia hidup, sampai tarikh dia mati tu, nama masih lagi nama dia. But the date of death sampai December akan jadi nama executor dia. But the income will still be assessed. Tak ada pula kalau mati tak payah bayar cukai dah, tak ada. Selagi ada income akan kenalah under administration ni. Alright. So, going back to this estate. Okay, so estate ni apa? Bukan estate kelapa sawit ke apa kan? So now you dah belajar estate planning. So we are talking about wealth owned by a deceased person. Untuk orang hidup, wealth dia kita tak kata estate, kita kata income or wealth. Tapi untuk orang mati, deceased person, any wealth yang dia ada, kita mention sebagai, we call it as estate. Okay, so executor or estate administrator is responsible to, number one, settle any debts kalau ada, pay income tax, and distribute the residue of estate to beneficiaries according to the Will or Distribution Act 1997. So this is particularly for a non-Muslim. So what we need, why do we need an executor? So this person will be responsible to pay tax. Remember, untuk subjek ni kita berminat dengan tax je. We don't care about berapa persen pergi dekat siapa. We only care about the tax. So executor will pay tax on income of the estate which pay out from the deceased person's estate. Don't worry, the executor will not pay income tax based on using his own money. Tak, dia akan bayar tax based on the deceased person's estate yang kita nak kira tadi. Alright, apportionment of income. Alright, so kita ada apportionment. For example, business income or rental income, time basis. For interest, dividend and annuity will be assessed based on receipt basis. Apa maksudnya? Alright. TB is time basis. RB is receipt basis. So boleh update dalam notes lah. Nanti kan later bila tengok TB ni apa. Right? So TB and RB. So for example, rental income. Let's say kita ada rental income dekat sini. I go straight to rental income. individual ni ada rental income, okay, will be assessed based on time basis. Time basis maksudnya first column ni katakan orang ni hidup tadi sampai March, so income sampai March tu akan jadi under estate dekat sini lah. After that, masih lagi dapat income akan pergi dekat sini. Kita akan apportion dia. Let's say 3 bulan kat sini, 9 bulan kat sini. That's what we mean by time basis. Sama juga dengan business income. Tapi for interest and dividend, this is on receipt basis. Bila dia dapat, kita akan masukkan situ. Let's say dia dapat masa dia masih hidup, then fine. Ataupun dia dapat masa estate, kita akan letak dekat sini. Or dia dapat masa dah deceased tu, executor yang dapat, kita letak dekat sebelah sini. So we are going to have two chargeable income. If you get this calculation, there ada total income 1, total income 2, and if we have special deduction, and we have chargeable income 1 and chargeable income 2. Okay, macam mana kita nak buat nanti I think ada soalan dekat nanti kita boleh tengok. Alright, so tax treatment for an estate. Basis period. So when the person dies, the basis period for a year of assessment, the executor is responsible to assess and pay tax for 3 years. Remember, dia 3 tahun dia kena buat, executor kena buat. The basis year in which the person died is the year of assessment, the following year and the previous year if necessary. So ni 3 tahun ni apa yang dia kena buat 1 tahun yang mati tadi lah, macam tadi Mr. D tadi 2015 kan. So first one is 2015. The following year is 2016. And kalau ada, the previous year. That is why they need 3 years. What about the tax rate? Okay, depend on the domicile of the deceased person. Kalau dia resident, domicile tadi resident. Kalau dia pass away or dia deceased as domicile in Malaysia, kita pakai scale rate. Scale rate macam yang kita buat biasa ni, chargeable income ikut scale rate. Kalau domicile outside Malaysia, which means dia non-resident, will be taxed at a flat rate of 20. Ini rate lama ni, now 20%. Alright, so tax rate sama macam individual yang hidup. Kalau dia resident, ikut scale rate. Kalau dia non-resident, flat rate. Alright, again, going back to this diagram. So tadi kita dah tahu the individual, what we have learned so far is actually under this part, individual tax. And then we have estate under administration yang baru tadi kita tengok. What happened to the rest after 3 years tu apa jadi? Kalau ada lagi estate tu, mana lagi nak pergi? So it can go to beneficiary semua or it can go to a trust body. Right? So it can be distributed either directly to the beneficiaries or to a trust body. Because here we're talking about kita kata high net worth individual, wealthy people or high net worth lah. So in terms of financial planning, kita tak kata orang kaya, the term is high net worth people. Right? So for these high net worth people, the residual value of the estate can go either to the beneficiaries or to trust body. Okay. So this is the tax computation for estate. Belum kira untuk trust dengan settlement lagi. This is for estate. So estate ni dia panjang sikit. So we are going to have 2 tax computation. Macam tadi kita dah tengok ada 2 column tu kan. So we need 2 tax computation. Satu income up to the period to a person's death, eligible to claim all incentive, and income after the death only can claim self-relief. So period of assessment 1st Jan until 31st December. Capital receipts are not taxable. Life insurance and death gratuities are exempted. Remember tadi saya kata dia ada bayar insurance, and then bila dia pass away dia dapat, orang ni dapat life insurance payment. Dia dapat gratuity juga. Tapi because of the death, all are actually exempted from tax. Withdrawal of EPF pun not taxable sebab dah tak ada pass away, disease. Taxable income, okay, yang kena tax, interest from savings, tadi interest from loan, dividends, rental income, itu kena tax. And deductible expenses kalau ada annuity payable. Okay, so this is the 2 column that you have to prepare. Satu, deceased person, katalah deceased person tadi nama Mr. D, executor dia nama Mr. E. So ini nama Mr. D, the deceased person tu. 1st Jan until death date. Tadi Mr. D pass away in March. So 1st Jan until March. Dekat sini, lepas dia meninggal tu, April sampai December. So you are going to have two columns for this estate tax calculation. Alright, let's say dia ada business income, dua-dua taxable. Tapi remember, go back to table yang tadi, untuk business income dia ialah time basis. Okay, so income yang dia dapat, let's say from 1st January sampai 15 March tarikh dia mati tu, will be here. 16 March sampai December, the income will be here. Kita kena apportionkan lah. So let's say dia ada income untuk tahun ni, untuk tahun untuk this particular year, income dia ialah 100,000. Okay, so 100,000, the first 3 bulan dekat sini, lagi 9 bulan dekat sini. Boleh faham sebab the first 3 months tu dia masih hidup. Dekat sini dia dah mati. So bila dia dah mati, kita kena apportionkan the business income. Business income, again, go back to the previous table. This will be taxed on time basis. Business income Rental income also time basis. Interest receipt basis. Bila dia dapat, let's say the interest income is received in January. So whatever portion received in January will be here. Lepas tu bulan 10 dia dapat lagi interest income. Interest income yang bulan 10 will be here. Kita tak portion, kita ikut date. That is why for interest dividend akan jadi receipt base. For rental tak. Rental biasa kita buat rental income, dia ada 1 year rental kan. So the first 3 months rent here, the next 9 months will be here. And remember the first column ni ialah nama deceased person, the second column nama executor dia. So ini dah jadi estate kan. Ini dia punya. And then aggregate income, foreign source not taxable. Dividend biasanya kita kira dividend kita exempted, so tak ada kena tax lah. Kalau ada business loss, kalau ada donation, kita kira macam biasa. Total income so kalau tengok tadi balik dekat table ni, mana tadi? Okay. Lost time basis juga. Okay, so annuity payable, receipt basis. Tengok date je. Bila dia dapat, kita tolak ikut dekat mana kategori dia, masa dia masih hidup ataupun bila dia dah mati. And then total income, less deduction, nampak tak? We have 9,000 here. Why? This is because 9,000 ni untuk deceased person. Dekat sini remember ini nama executor kan? Dia boleh juga letak lagi 9,000 dekat sini. The personal relief. Why? Dekat sini. Personal relief 9,001 je. Relief lain tak boleh claim. Child relief whatsoever tak boleh claim. Self dia 9,000. And chargeable income. Syarat dia, nombor 1 saya letak merah ni, orang ni, the deceased person is a resident and the executor is also resident. Dan yang mati ni ialah domicile in Malaysia lah, maknanya dia resident lah. And the executor also resident. Then boleh dapat 9,000. Kalau executor ni bukan resident, dekat sini je dapat 9,000. Dekat sini tak boleh dapat dah 9,000. Sekarang ni, in this case, both are resident. So again, going back to our personal relief topic, only resident can entitle to a personal relief. Other issues in estate, okay, executor remuneration is not allowed for deduction. Remember, executor dia bukan buat kerja free kan, dia executor dia akan dapat remuneration, dia akan dapat some allowance. Tapi allowance dia tak boleh tolak sebagai deduction. So income dia tetap banyak lah, tax yang dia kena bayar tetap banyak lah. However, when the executor run a business of the deceased individual, kalau executor tu tolong run the business, then remuneration tu boleh as deduction if it links with producing business income. Any question on estate tak?
Tak ada doktor.
Because for estate ni macam saya kata tadi lah, our focus is on the tax matters. Yang lain tu siapa beneficiary dia, berapa persen nak bagi person tu, we don't care. Kita care macam nak kira tax untuk dia je. Alright, so the second one would be trust. Okay, for trust ni, balik kepada table ni tadi, right? After, this is residual value of the estate. Dah settle dekat sini 3 tahun, ada lagi, then dia boleh set up trust body. So untuk trust dia pun quite lengthy. Kita ada what is a trust, parties involved in trust, type of trust, why are trust used. So example of countries with inheritance tax, as well as tax exemptions in relation to trust. Okay. Kalau tadi estate tadi, kita kata estate of the deceased and managed by executor. Now when we have a trust, it is actually a way of managing property. Remember, we are talking about high net worth individual. They have a lot of assets, a lot of wealth, a lot of investment, land, building, whatever. Ada banyak, so they need a trust to manage the property. And this is how they actually hold and manage the money for people who may not be ready or able to manage it for themselves. Especially kalau the beneficiary ialah seorang minor, budak lagi. Tak boleh lagi nak bagi duit, dia tak boleh nak manage lagi. So set up lah trust. Trust tu untuk budak ni bila dia reach certain age. So a trust manages the distribution of a person's property by transferring its benefits and obligations to different people. So among the reasons for setting up a trust are as follows: to control and protect family property or assets. That is why they have trust. When someone's too young or incapacitated to handle their affairs, to pass on property or asset while an individual is still alive, to pass on property or asset upon death with a will, untuk trusting with a will, or maybe last point, when someone wants to set up a charitable trust, trust for the maintenance of animals. Boleh, trust untuk education trust lah, whatever lah, boleh. So termasuk dalam trust ni juga. So among others is actually to control and protect the assets. So who are the parties involved in a trust? Right, again, just now kita tengok the terms called as deceased person, executor. So here when we talk about trust, kita ada pula the new term, kita ada settler, kita ada trust body, kita ada trustee. We have beneficiaries. So parties involved ada 3 dalam trust ni: settler, trustee and beneficiaries. Yang ni tak ada dekat estate tadi. Dekat estate tadi kita guna executor. Dia tolong execute je, tolong buat je sebab orang tu dah tak ada. Here we have a trust. We have settler, trustee and beneficiaries. Okay. Who is the settler? Of course, the settler creates the trust via a trustee. Dia appoint trustee. Dia boleh transfer property or assets to the trust. So what is trust deed? Trust deed is a document lah. Trust deed ni macam agreement how the trust will operate. So kalau syarikat, company, kita kata constitution kan. So trust pun dia ada what we call as a trust deed. So the diagram dia goes like this, starting with settler, and then they set up the trust or trust company, dan the trust tu akan ada beneficiary. Siapa yang akan menerima the beneficial owner of the trust property. So dalam trust ni kita akan ada trustee or trust body. Who are they? Legal owner of the property assets of the trust. Manage and administers trust in accordance with trust deed. But nowadays, because of the scam, some scammer, they sometimes use trust as a way to scam orang juga. Because kalau you tengok yang set up tu ialah dia, trustee tu dia, beneficiaries pun family dia. Tapi masa dekat nak set up ni, dalam trust deed ni, duit ni boleh datang dari macam-macam orang. Konon-konon dia nak buat untuk charitable whatever kan. Tapi end up dengan tak pergi kepada charitable pun, pergi kepada his or her own family. So trust ni pun sometimes dia guna untuk that purpose. Alright, anyway, so the trust body is the legal owner of the property or asset in the trust, manage and administer trust in accordance with trust deed. So who are the beneficiaries? It will be the beneficial owner of the trust or property, or they can receive income at the appointed time. Kalau buat charitable trust tadi macam ni lah. Dia set up trust, ada trust body yang jaga kan, siapa legal owner, beneficiaries contohnya buat trust untuk animals. So beneficiaries is the animal lah dengan whoever yang they appoint untuk jaga. Alright, so this is the diagram, but you can read the details here, the stakeholders apa, and these are actually the function, apa orang ni buat. So for instance, just now I told you that settler is actually a person who creates a trust, dan dia adalah original owner sebelum dia transfer dekat trust. Let's say saya ada bangunan, saya create trust, bangunan tu saya letaklah nama yayasan saya. So bila saya transfer bangunan tu pergi jadi trust, saya dah bukan original owner. So the trust tu akan jadi owner kepada bangunan saya tadi tu. And the beneficiary can be whoever lah. So now you're talking about the trustee. Trustee ni akan jadi beneficiary boleh jadi trustee. Saya sendiri boleh jadi trustee juga. So trustee can be individual, group of individuals or even a company. So trustee adalah legal owner of the asset. So dia kena manage lah, semua benda ni will be managed by the trustee. So for tax purpose, point yang last ni, trustee is a trust body so long as trustee remain members of the trust body. They are jointly and severally subject to all liabilities which would be subject to tax. So kena bayar tax lah yang jadi trustee ni. Panjang lagi cerita dia apa trustee ni kena buat trust body any period of time. Macam-macam lah payment of tax or debt due, submission of income tax return, semua trustee kena buat. Basically the function of trustee macam executor dekat estate tadi, dia kena buat semua. Beneficiaries will be beneficial owner of the asset. It can be one beneficiary only. Katakan orang kaya ni dia buat yayasan untuk anak dia, trust untuk anak dia kecil lagi, anak dah besar nanti dah boleh guna that trust money pergi masuk university whatever. It can be one beneficiary or it can be more than one beneficiary. So it depends on the trust deed, apa dokumen tu kata. So is how the trustee will manage and execute. Alright, so there are different types of trust. So tadi basic structure of the trust is actually in the diagram. So you can see the stakeholders. We have settler, trustee as well as beneficiaries. That is the basic structure of a trust. But we can have different types of trust. For example, we can have what we call as a bare trust. Bare trust ni held in the name of a trustee and are often passed asset to young people at a determined time. So we'll go directly to the intended beneficiary at a predetermined age. So trustee ni tak ada buat kerja apalah. Bila sampai beneficiary ni cukup umur dia je, dia transfer pergi ke situ dan habis kerja dia. Ini bare trust untuk young people. We also have what we call as a discretionary trust. Ikut suka trustee tu, discretion dia, up to the discretion of the trustee. This is what we call as a discretionary trust. So the trustee ada power untuk make certain decision how to use the trust income. Sama ada what gets paid up, income ke, capital ke, which beneficiary to make payment to, how often payments are made, and any conditions to impose on the beneficiaries. And non-discretionary trust, okay, for non-discretionary trust ni kita tahulah dia fix lah. Kalau tadi discretionary depend on the trustee kan nak bagi macam mana. But for non-discretionary, it is actually a fixed trust based on the ratio of entitlement as determined by the settler. When the settler started out the trust, this is the fixed trust, so kena follow. Some can be trust for accumulation. So trustee macam untuk trust for accumulation ni macam discretionary tadilah the trustee ada discretion to accumulate part or whole of the income within the trust and add it to the trust capital. So as I said, it is similar with discretionary trust. And last one is mixed trust. Mixed trust ni ada dua-dua. Dia ada discretionary power over certain income and non-discretionary power over the other part of the income. So akan ada dua. Dalam trust income tu ada discretionary and non-discretionary. Let's say, okay, discretionary kalau trust fund tu nak pergi untuk donation, okay, pergilah donate dekat mana-mana pun. Itu contohnya satu. Yang non-discretionary part maknanya the fixed part. Okay, kalau nak bayar dekat certain body, inilah amount dia, fixed. So the mixed trust ni is a combination of both. Charitable trust, okay, yang ni I think most people biasa tengok kita ada charitable trust, sama ada for the purpose of education, alleviation of poverty, advancement of religion or some other purpose that is of benefit to the community. Okay, charitable trust differ from other trust in that it does not have any particular beneficiaries. Dia tak ada beneficiaries tapi dia fokus pada purpose dia. Contoh dia, purpose dia untuk education. Okay, ini foundation ni, yayasan ni untuk B40 family contohnya. Okay, so itu dia punya apa ni kita kata purpose dia untuk education. So the beneficiaries normally will be identified as a class of people. This is for charitable trust. Testamentary trust, ini created in a will. Dia bukan created suka-suka. Macam tadi kan, I said, okay, this individual, dia rasa dia nak set up trust. Dia masih hidup dan dia nak set up trust. Untuk testamentary trust ni, created in a will. Dalam will kata, dia mati nanti, harta dia sekian-sekian, pergi set up trust. Itu testamentary trust. Only takes effect upon the death of the testator. Dia mati baru jalan trust tu, dia hidup tak jalan lagi. Sama macam kita kata hibah lah kan. So for Muslim, we have hibah. Hibah pun boleh jadi ketika hidup boleh bagi hadiah. Ataupun hibah tu akan start berjalan bila pemberi tu dah meninggal dunia. Right, so lebih kurang testamentary trust lah. So normally this is for when the settler wishes to provide for the children, young people who have yet to reach adulthood or are handicapped. So sekarang dia masih hidup, dia kata dia boleh jaga. Once dia mati, duit ni pergi masuk dekat trust, jaga anak dia yang handicap tu pun boleh macam tu. Okay, sources of income. Mana trust ni dapat income? Okay, dia boleh jadi macam-macam. Business, rental, interest, dividend, macam-macam jenis income dia boleh buat. It's like a business juga. Any source of a trustee of a trust, being a source of his in respect of partnership income where a trust body is a partner. Sometimes, if you look at partnership notes last week, boleh tengok juga. Some of the partners can also be a company. Company boleh jadi partner dalam business. Dan company can also be a trust. Trust body ni adalah trust company boleh juga. So bila dia jadi partner, dia akan dapat income lah. Jadi boleh tengok country yang ada estate tax. Alright, so for trust ni mana biasanya kita tax? Okay, number one would be RPGT, Real Property Gain Tax. This is when the trust ada asset, dia dispose real property ataupun shares in REIT, you ada belajar REIT kan, real estate investment. So when they dispose asset or real property, they will be charged or they will be taxed under RPGT, Real Property Gain Tax. It can also be a stamp duty. Kalau transfer assets, ada stamp duty. That also be an income for a trust and will be taxed. As well as income tax applicable for income earned by both the trust and the beneficiaries. So macam tadi lah, going back to this point, maknanya trust tu boleh ada income datang dari sini. So this will be taxed under trust body tadi. So income tax untuk trust under section 61 61A, 62, 63, 64 tadi estate under administration. So estate under administration ni under section 64 of the Income Tax Act. 62, 63, 3 pun ada ABCD, daripada 61 lah Untuk trust dia panjang sikit. Sebab trust, remember trust ni dia macam company kan. Bila dia ada company, so banyaklah dia punya deduction, dia punya expenses, dia punya special treatment compared to estate under administration. Dah lah dia 3 tahun je kan. So ada certain tax yang certain tax yang kena bayar. Alright, for trust, there are also some tax exemption. So kalau tengok tax exemption ni duduk dekat sini lah, section 33 tadi. Stamp duty exemption pun boleh sometimes. Instrument of deed of assignment and instrument of transfer of real property to real estate investment trust, REIT ni, or property trust fund approved by the Securities Commission, RPGT, ataupun disposable of chargeable asset to real estate investment to REIT ataupun property trust fund. Ini ada stamp duty exemption, stamp duty je lah. So the trust body shall be created as a separate person for income tax. So kalau orang ni dia nama Hazianti pada masa yang sama dia adalah trustee, so dia kena tax dekat dua tempat. Income of the trust body shall be assessed and charged to tax separately from the income of a beneficiary. So income tax rate untuk trust ialah 24%. Kalau trust to non-resident, withholding tax provision may be applicable. Alright, resident status of a trust body. Remember, we are talking about trust. It can be a trustee or a trust body or a trust company. Kita kata trust body tu boleh jadi a tax resident for a year of assessment if any trustee member of that body is resident for that basis year. Right, remember some trust tu dalam tu member dia macam-macam kan, ada resident, ada bukan resident So dia akan jadi, trust body tu jadi resident kalau salah seorang tu resident in that basis year. Macam ni kita nak kata trust body is not a resident. Satu, trust tu created outside Malaysia by a person or person who were not citizen. Income of trust body for that basis year is wholly derived from outside Malaysia. Trust tu set up in Malaysia tapi income dia semua datang daripada overseas. So dia bukanlah resident, trust resident. The trust is administered for the whole of that basis year outside Malaysia. Administrator semua overseas, tak duduk dekat Malaysia. At least 1/2 of the number of the member trustees are not resident in Malaysia for that basis year. Right, ini tak ada apa lain, just nak tengok resident status je lah. Alright, tadi remember untuk trust kita ada 3 parti tadi kan, settler, trustee dengan beneficiaries. Okay, so kita dah tengok settler, kita dah tengok trustee. What about the beneficiaries yang menerima deemed to have source of income in relation to the trust. So beneficiary entitled to receive income from the trust. Beneficiary is generally subject to income tax on his share of the total income from the trust. However, the tax chargeable on the chargeable income of the trust body will be available as tax credit to the beneficiary. Tax credit maksudnya dia dapat rebate balik lah. So what about the rate? Okay, so resident individual sama juga rate Kalau non individual kita bagi dia flat rate. So this is a summary for you. Right, the computation as you can see here, the computation kita sama sahaja. We always go back to section 4A, B, C, D, E, F. But here ada sampai kita beri contoh sampai interest and rental. Sama juga kita akan kira tolak donation, dapat chargeable income atau total income. And kira dekat tax rate. Beza dia trust body dia bukan untuk trust body dia bukan scale rate The beneficiaries tadi ya scale rate. Macam ni. Okay, this is the beneficiary. Sebab dia beneficiary dia individual kan. Individual will be taxed on scale rate. Trust body ni dia ialah body company, so kita akan charge dia at a flat rate. Okay. Bezanya trust tadi dekat sini, dia akan distribute dekat beneficiary kan. So remember trust body ni dia dapat income, dia akan trust bagi pula dekat beneficiary. So in this case, katakan dia dah dapat chargeable income, dia dah tolak tax payable. What we have here is income distributed. Distribute pergi kepada beneficiary. So beneficiary akan dapat in terms of section 4E, what we call as an annuity. Dia dapat every year, annuity payment. Again, beneficiary is an individual. Dia boleh claim personal relief 9,000. Tax payable by a trust body. Trust body dah bayar tax tadi, dia boleh tolak balik dekat sini. So inilah tax payable ataupun tax refund yang dia boleh dapat. So trust income, again, it can be from business as well as non-business. And ada juga deductible expenses. So dia macam business lah basically. Trust body ni, trust income ni kita treat dia macam business income. Alright. Example, kita ada A trust is a resident trust in Malaysia. So kita nampak dia adalah resident trust. B, a resident in Malaysia is the sole beneficiary of the trust and is entitled to the whole of the distributable income from the trust. So beneficiary dia seorang je beneficiary dia. Katakanlah trust ni ada statutory income 60,000 dan interest 10,000. Income dia 60 plus 10, 70,000. Tadi sole beneficiary kan? All 70 ni akan pergi kepada satu beneficiary. So nampak tak? Dia tak ada chargeable income. Sebab dia pergi dekat beneficiary. Chargeable income dia kosong. Okay. Dekat sini 70,000 ni hanya boleh jadi macam ni kalau if the IRB satisfied that A trust and beneficiary B are resident in Malaysia for the year of assessment 2018. Kalau IRB allow, dia akan jadi macam ni lah. Tak ada kena tax. Yang kena tax ialah beneficiary ni lah, 70,000. The trust ni tak kena tax sebab tak ada Dia dah terus bagi ke beneficiary. Tapi kalau tak, if no deduction is allowed, then the chargeable income of AA trust is 70,000 and the tax payable for the year of assessment 2018 would be 70,000 times 24%. Itu tak jadi macam ni. 70,000 ni dia kena tax juga, 24%. The beneficiary B share of total income for the year of assessment 70,000. So 70,000 is deemed to be statutory income from his ordinary source. Dia akan dapat sebagai annuity. So again, kalau IRB allow, this trust body tak perlu bayar cukai untuk 70,000. Kalau IRB tak allow, the trust body kena bayar cukai untuk 70,000. In other words, trust body ni bergantung pada IRB dan beneficiary ni dia tetap akan kena bayar cukai sebab dia ni dikira income dia. Yang tadi tu kita kata approval tu just for the trust. So kalau tengok point number 2 ni, dia punya income deemed to be statutory income. Dia kena tax juga nanti. Yang ni apa? Okay, yang ni I think this one you boleh baca sebab tadi saya tunjuk contoh calculation dekat situ. Ini this is another example untuk non-discretionary trust resident. So dalam case ni kita ada dua beneficiaries pula, C and D. Tadi seorang senang C and D. C 1/4, D dapat 3/4 share of the distributable income. So let's say this is the income of the trust. Business income dia 90, business expenses dia 45. So dalam ni ada note juga, admin expenses of 5 are paid for the management and administration of the trust, which are not wholly and exclusively incurred in the production of income. Therefore, administrative expenses is not deductible in the settlement of the total income of a trust. Okay, dia akan jadi macam ni. Tadi income dia 90 kan? Same example, 90. Tapi tolak 45 expenses, distributable income tinggal 45. Okay, gross business income. Kalau ini tadi business ini tadi kita kira total tau, business plus interest. Ini yang dia nak distribute ni. Tapi kalau business dia 80, tolak allowable business expenses tadi ada 30 revenue. Dapatlah adjusted income 50. Tambah balik dengan statutory business income, jadi statutory interest income jadi 60. Jadi kita pecahkan macam ni satu total income ni based on business. Sebab apa? This is the total. Kita nak tengok total untuk business dia. So tadi remember C dapat 1/4, B dapat 3/4. So kita kena kira dua-dua entitlement dia untuk distributable income, which mean untuk total semua income tu berapa banyak dia dapat, dan lagi satu untuk portion total income. So you can go back to this calculation lah, satu 45,000, satu 60,000, 45 and 60. Kita kira lah ni 1/4 over 45 dapat ini, 1/4 over 60 dapat ni. Untuk D 3/4. So C and D share of total income of the trust body, dia sebenarnya yang kat sini lah income dia kan, dia kat atas tadi ni, tak ada yang ni, total semua sebenarnya kat bawah ni 60 ni, this one. Total income of the trust body of the trust for the year of assessment 2018 is to be the statutory income from their ordinary source for that year. So ini total income dia will be tax dekat jumlah sini 15 and 45,000. Okay. For this one, I think this one lebih kurang macam tadi je. Dia ada dua beneficiary juga, separuh-separuh. So remember you have to buat dua, satu distributable income, satu total income. Beza dekat sini, seorang beneficiary ialah non-resident. Seorang ialah non-resident. So untuk A, dia exempted lah. Foreign source ni tak kena charge, tak kena tax foreign source. Tapi B, sekejap. Foreign source income, not subject to tax. Income is not derived from Malaysia. Okay, sebab dia bukan resident. Ini kalau trust subject to accumulation, which means dia tak distribute lagi, accumulate dulu. Kata part of the trust income is subject for accumulation, so total trust shall be adjusted as follow. So total income darab dengan distributable income after accumulation divide by distributable income before accumulation. So inilah, which means dia tak distribute lagi, income yang ada tu dia accumulate dulu. So this is the example. I think yang ni tak boleh tengok je kot. Yang ni macam tak ada apa sangat ni. Okay, just the formula lah. You kena remember the formula lah. Total income of trust body kalau subject to accumulation. Bawah ni before accumulation. Yang atas ni total income darab dengan distributable income. So here we have business income, rental income, business expenses and accumulation for G. So lepas dia set aside untuk G, dia akan distribute equally to E and F. Right, ini kita balik kepada calculation tadi. Right, so 50 plus rental before accumulation, 70. Accumulation for G. Accumulation maknanya dah tolak sebelah untuk G. G tak ambil lagi tapi dia accumulate. So tolak tepi dulu, 70,500. After accumulation, 52,500. So ambil balik gross business income ni, tolak balik dengan tax deductible expenses dalam soalan ni. 40,000 tadi, 60 minus 20. This is the statutory business income, tambah balik dengan rental, so this is total income. So kita nak dapat trust body punya calculation tadi, we need the total income ni 90,000. Okay, dan bagi pula dekat E dengan F, half lah, half each, they will get 33,750. For discretionary trust pun lebih kurang juga the calculation dia, whereby we have total income of the trust body, total sum received by the beneficiary and aggregate sum received by all the beneficiary. Dia kalau satu beneficiary senang sikit, share of the beneficiary tu pergilah kita ambil lower of amount received ataupun total income of that trust. Kalau lebih daripada satu, then kita pakai ratio. So say total income of the trust body 40,000, ada two beneficiaries K and L. So kita nak ambil total lah. Aggregate dia 50 This is the formula. You all ikut je formula dekat sebelah ni. So example ni very straightforward. Kalau sekarang nampak macam tak tahu apa benda, you can refer back to this example. So this is the calculation untuk dia. Kita nak kira amount received by K and L. Right, so untuk trust dia memang agak panjang lah because depending on the type of trust tu, macam mana kita nak kira. Alright, last but not least, we have settlements. Alright, settlement, kalau trust tadi untuk manage ataupun untuk protect asset or wealth, settlement ni dia lebih kepada agreement or arrangement. It can be a trust as well, settlement ni. Any transfer of asset and income, nama dia settlement. Tak kisahlah transfer tu dalam bentuk agreement ataupun transfer because of trust. So we call them as settlement. Tapi tak termasuk, does not include settlement in which the opinion of the Director General is made for valuable and adequate considerations, settlement resulting from an order of a court, or any agreement made by employer to pay an employee or the widow or any relative or dependent after his death, such remuneration, pension, or lump sum. Itu tak termasuk dalam kategori settlement. So untuk settlement ni kita pakai term settler juga, settlement. Dia more like agreement, as I said before. So we are talking about agreement or arrangement or covenant. Any to transfer asset and income. Ada agreement to transfer, so we call it as settlement. And the settlement can be revocable or irrevocable. So revocable maknanya boleh tukar lah. Revocable may be immediately or in future. Alright, so this is for a settler of settlement. So yang ni pun tak ada apa sangat lah. I think you can read. Revocation at any time, settler makes use of the income of the settled property and unmarked relative and age less than 21 years old. Okay, sometimes the event of settlement ni boleh juga establish a trust. Daripada dia settle satu certain part of the asset, dia jadi trust. So bila dia jadi trust, kita akan go back to trust tadi lah, section 64 tadi, 65 tadi. Okay, so nampak sebab dia related dengan trust juga. It can be related to trust. So for example, Mr. X here transfer his property to a trust body tax resident in Malaysia. But the transfer process is called settlement. Transfer property to a trust body tax resident in Malaysia for his son B and daughter C. So B and C are each 10 and 15 as at Jan 2017. So total income is 100,000. Distributable income 90,000, of which B and C are entitled equally. Assume B resident and C non-resident, each receive 45,000. In addition, C received 20,000 income from abroad. So dia budak lagi, so nampak dalam ni B and C would be deemed to have no statutory income. So the statutory income of A yang A pula B ni of Mr. X ni lah. Income tadi dia dapat separuh kan, 100,000. Total income for year assessment 2017, 100,000. So separuh-separuh, 50. Further source, yang tadi dapat dari overseas 20,000. 45. Seorang ni dapat 45. Seorang lagi dapat 20. So minus 50 yang atas ni, further source ni, so exam lah. So masih lagi 100,000. Untuk pengiraan ni kita kira C sebagai resident. Alright, here we have B and Z. Contributed to the following to a trust body resident for the benefit of X and Y, children of B. Okay, tadi kita cerita pasal trust kan. Sekarang trust ni dah ada, dia orang ni transfer asset dekat trust body tu. So untuk Z dia ada 2 properties, 100,000 worth of shares in XYZ Berhad jointly owned by B and Z, dapat dividend 15,000. Okay, 65.1 ni 2 properties tadi dengan half shares to be the income of Z. So B would be considered to be a settler for the 50,000 worth of shares in XYZ Sendirian Berhad. So kita boleh nampak dekat sini lah. So this one untuk dia nak bagi untuk anak dia X dengan Y, tapi income ni dua-dua lah, satu Z punya, satu B and Z, both own. So B punya portion of income, dividend tadi 15,000, so separuh dia punya. Dan kita kata jointly own kan, so we don't have the ratio, so kalau jointly own macam ni kita bahagi dua je, half. And then Z's deemed portion would be rental income tadi 20,000, half share of the dividend income, so jadi 27,500. Sebab property tadi Z punya under Z punya rental income, B tak ada rental income lah, B dia cuma ada dividend. So 1,750,000, 1,27,500. So macam ni kita kira lah bila dia contribute to the trust body. Alright, lastly we have a summary again about what is settlement. So settlement is a transfer of income to another person. So dia boleh jadi arrangement or agreement juga, reciprocal or revocable. And normally it is a transfer of asset or income to unmarried child would not be applied dalam ni. Yang belum kahwin ya, kalau dah kahwin tak masuk dalam settlement ni, would not be applied, transfer asset ni. Under age of 21 who is married pun tak boleh. Above age 21 pun tak boleh. Not within the definition of relative pun tak boleh masuk dalam settlement. So dia mesti dalam definition of relative. So siapa relative dalam kes ni? The child of the settler, the wife, the grandchild, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, cousin. Kawan tak boleh dalam ni So kawan transfer tak masuk dalam settlement ni. Alright. Any question? So, you need some time untuk balik baca dan tengok balik what are the differences. I think untuk dia macam stand alone lah, but for estate normally for the exam the calculation would be kita bagi date lah. Okay, orang sekian-sekian ni harta dia ini, dia pass away ini, and then executornya siapa. So macam table tadi kan, that is for estate. So you have to compute lah, deceased punya estate berapa, executor punya berapa for that particular year. That is for estate. For trust, normally kita akan tengok yang macam tadi lah. Macam ni mana tadi trust. Yang macam ni. Sorry. Yang macam ni. So dia ada trust, dia ada beneficiary. So you have to compute the distributable income as well as the total income. That is for trust. Trust ni bila kita tengok on trust ni, kita tak, we don't care about what coming into the trust. Untuk trust, kita nampak dia ada income je. So kita kira berapa banyak akan diberi pada beneficiary. But when we do settlement, settlement is also related to trust. Tapi in this case, settlement we are interested in the asset. Asset apa yang dia pergi bagi dekat trust tu. Bangunan ke, share ke. Macam ni kan, this is not a building but this is an income, rental income. Ini pun sama juga. Rental income dengan share. Dia contribute dekat trust tadi. Dalam topik trust tadi tu, kita tengok trust tu dah ada income. Dia nak bagi dekat beneficiary. Here, settler ni pergi bagi aset dekat trust, and macam mana kita nak tengok the process of settlement tu, dan apa income will be assessed under the settler sendiri. Alright, so if you have no question, okay, saya mau plan boleh habis by 4. So this, mana saya punya I have the attendance for you. Okay. Sekejap. Alright, so this would be your attendance for today. So you are group A jangan letak salah group pula.
Oh, scan je ya kali ni.
Scan je. Yep.
Okay.
Boleh kan? Boleh tak?
Kejap Doktor tengah buka. Boleh?
Boleh. Alright. So group A jangan salah group pula. Jangan pergi kat group lain buat attendance.
Okay dah Doktor.
Okay, dah semua dah Alright, for next week's class, I really hope that everybody can attend the class memang kena lah because kita akan buat class face to face, and I will return your midterm exam together with your apa dia, saya buat midterm exam lah kot, quiz saya letak kat bilik je nanti, sebab quiz belum habis tanda lagi. And if you have question about your group assignment pun nanti next week, kelas kita Friday before Friday you can just make an appointment with me, sebab kalau boleh saya nak tengok your draft. If you have time, you can come and see me and show me your draft, sebab saya letak dalam each topic tu I have the subtopic yang saya nak you all masukkan kan. So I just need you to make sure that you get the right information, because kita tengah buat on Malaysian taxation jangan pergi ambil yang country lain, Indonesia punya ke Singapore punya ke masuk dekat dalam tu, unless you are doing some comparison. Okay, so I will see you next Friday. Hopefully semua boleh datang sebab saya nak return your midterm exam. Yang performance ni kita cerita minggu depan lah.
Okay, boleh Doktor.
Okay, semua dah sign
Sa- Saya dah.
Ya,
Doktor, saya nak tanya.
Ya.
Macam week 8 kan saya tak hadir dan saya dah submit dekat yang attendance diikut portal, cuma dekat situ dia tulis pending below approval.
Oh, saya belum approve tak apa, nanti saya tengok. Yang letak perencanaan kuliah tu ke? Rasa macam mana
Ya, betul. Tapi dekat situ dia tak ada ruang untuk saya attach dokumen saya. Saya boleh letak reason je.
boleh tak reason je tapi dokumen tu dah tunjuk saya kan?
Dah, saya dah hantar dekat personal WhatsApp.
Okay, nanti saya tengok balik.
Okay, thank you doktor.
Alright. Ada apa-apa lagi?